President.
Senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Senator Booker. And I joined my friend Senator Warnock here to talk about this. Thank Senator Bennett, Senator Booker, and Senator Warnock for their leadership on, I think, it's the most important thing I've done in my years in public office. And the child tax credit that Senator Bennett and I began on that years and years and years ago, joined by other colleagues. Senator Warnock has really taken it over in a big way this year and getting it across the finish line. Sorry for the sports metaphor, but how important this is. So Senator Bennett said something about, and as did Senator Booker, that raising children is work. At least one of my colleagues, a number of my colleagues on that side of the aisle, and I believe a colleague or two on this side of the aisle said that something about a work requirement in the child tax credit, and I don't understand that because I spent a lot of time, including this weekend, with my grandchildren, and I see how hard my daughters work raising children, and our son works raising children, and the pressures. And this bill, cutting everything else away, relieves some of the anxiety that parents face. The anxiety of, how do I get the money together to pay the rent this week before the end of the month so I don't get evicted or don't get behind on my rent? How do I, just the opportunities that it gives parents. So, Mr. President, I want to talk directly to Ohio parents. We talk about parents and about the child tax credit. I want to talk to Ohio parents for a moment. Parents, check your bank accounts. A week ago today, we once again put money directly in the pockets of the families of most Ohio parents. The families of 92% of Ohio children are getting these dollars either direct deposited in their accounts or in their mailboxes and checks. It started July 15th, then August 15th, and September 15th. It will continue. Our goal on the floor today is to make this permanent, at least to make sure this goes beyond the end of the year. We're going to succeed in doing that. It's so important that we do. We know, back to talking to parents, we know how hard you work at your jobs, at raising your kids. Any parent knows how much work it is to take care of children, especially young children. It's only gotten harder over the last year and a half. The pressures are greater. The anxiety placed on families is more. We've not recognized in this country often enough that raising children is work. If you have a job outside the home, you're probably not getting paid what you're worth. We've seen what's happened over the past 2 decades. Productivity has gone up. Stock prices have soared. Executive compensation is stratospheric, but wages have been flat. Wages for most Americans have barely budged. Meanwhile, you all as parents know how expensive it is to raise kids. Childcare, healthcare, school lunches, diapers, clothes, school supplies, braces, sports fees. The list never seems to end. That's not to mention trying to put money away, just a few dollars a month, trying to put money away for college or sending your kid to camp, or maybe, as I've heard from some parents, for the first time in 2 or 3 years, they're going to get to take a little vacation for a few days, or maybe once a month going out to dinner at the local diner. You feel like you can't keep up no matter how hard you work. It's why we passed the child tax credit. It's why we started several years ago working to get other senators on board till we had virtually, literally every senator on this side of the aisle, every single Democrat is voted for the child tax credit twice already. Unfortunately, every single Republican voted against it. I don't even really understand why they're against it when, you can look out down the aisle here, you can look down the hall, and Senator McConnell's office is down the hall. You see the lobbyists lining up there. They always get their tax cuts. A train carrying tax cuts leaves the station whenever Republicans are in power, but a tax cut for wealthy people. But this is a tax cut for working families, and we know how important that is. It's finally, to America's parents, making your hard work pay off so you can keep up with those extra expenses that keep coming and coming and coming when you're raising a family. Stories have poured into our office from parents across Ohio about these tax cuts. Let me just give you snippets of several of them. Katie in Akron, it helps pay for school supplies. Caitlin, it pays for preschool for my son. Lindsay, it's back to school clothes. Fern, it will pay for preschool for both of my children, and the rest is going into a savings account for them. From Melissa, I used part of it to buy school uniforms pieces for my 4-year-old. Jennifer, put it away for college tuition. Maya, food and school supplies. And one of the most common stories we hear over and over is that parents are using this to afford child care so they can go back to work or keep working or work a few more hours. One mother from Menford, in southern Ohio near Portsmouth, wrote to me, she said, "My husband and I are middle class, raising 2 children, both under 6, who've been worried about the financial burden of paying for 2 kids in full-time child care. The $300 per child will be placed directly towards child care so that we don't have to worry about how my participation in the workforce affects us and allow us to participate more in the economy." She continued, "I believe these payments will allow more parents, especially mothers, to participate more fully in the workforce, allowing them more time to pursue training and help American families get food on the table." From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I mean, she really tells the story, Mr. President. You know, in Connecticut and in Georgia, that not everybody's gone back to work that could find work, in part because employers are finally starting to pay more, but so much of the time because they can't find child care or they can't afford child care. We know that. That's what these tax cuts are all about. They're about the dignity of work. All work has dignity, whether you punch a clock or swipe a badge, whether you work on a salary or work for tips, whether you're raising children, whether you're caring for aging parents. Raising children is work. Raising children is work. It's a hell of a lot more work than moving money from one overseas bank account to another or than checking the balance in your stock portfolio. That didn't stop Senator McConnell and the Republican majority 2-3 years ago from rewarding the wealthiest CEOs and hedge fund managers and Swiss bank account holders. We all remember what happened. Mitch McConnell and the lobbyists lining up down the hall, and the politicians who always do their bidding passed their tax cut for the wealthy and corporations that outsource jobs. You know what they promised? They promised it would all trickle down and we have more jobs in workers in Savannah, the hometown of this senator from Georgia, that there'd be more jobs and the workers would get more pay and the companies would invest more in the workforce. Well, it didn't exactly happen that way. They kept the money for themselves. They turn around, they spent that money on stock buybacks. Unsurprisingly, where does that money go? It goes in the pockets mostly of executives. Now this year, without a single vote from Republicans in Congress, we passed tax cuts for everyone else. It's pretty simple contrast. Whose side are you on? Do you want tax cuts for billionaires and corporations? That's what they did 4 years ago. That's what the president and the Congress did 4 years ago. Or do you want tax cuts for working families? That's what Senator Warnock's and Senator Ossoff's in President Biden's election meant in November and January this year, that instead of more tax cuts for the richest people in the country, though that bill, 70% of the tax cuts of the benefits went to the richest 1%. Now we're seeing our tax cut goes to 90% of the families in this country. Every single month, we're showing parents and workers, we're on your side. We'll not stop fighting to make sure parents' hard work pays off for years to come. I yield the floor.